All right, friends and neighbors, it is time for another episode of the Packet of the Week. We are coming to you live from the Networking Institute here at Rochester Institute of Technology, second floor of the Golisano building. We are here with the solution to Packet of the Week number 18. Well, not really. This is actually hints for the solution to Packet of the Week number 18. So we're going to take you through this, and because a number of you have been asking me how this actually works, how you actually decode a packet, what we're going to do is sort of a set of instructions on how to actually get this done. Okay, so we're going to take one from the get-go, assuming that you don't actually know very much about how a packet or how a frame is constructed. Okay, so here we go. I would like you to imagine that you have a box. And let's call this box Ethernet. Okay, now this Ethernet box, we know it holds a whole bunch of stuff, but we're really not sure what kind of stuff it holds. Remember that we're sending this Ethernet box to a computer, and computers are stupid. If you don't tell them exactly what they are supposed to do with the data, they don't understand it. All right, so if we remember a little bit about Ethernet, we'll remember that there are a whole bunch of fields associated with Ethernet. So we know that it starts off with the preamble, but the preamble isn't seen by Wireshark or by some other packet capture software. So we're going to forget about that for a sec. But what Wireshark can actually see is the destination MAC address of 6 bytes, the source MAC address of 6 bytes, and this type or control field. So the Ethernet box that we're actually talking about here can be referred to or refers to itself as this red rectangle here. So all that stuff is what we might call the Ethernet header. But if we go back to our box, we know it's got something in it, but what is it? How do we tell the computer what's actually inside this box? And the answer is right there in the Ethernet header. That last field, 0800, tells us what's inside. It tells the computer how to decode this packet. 0800 means IP, or Internet Protocol. So guess what? We get to open our box now. Hey, how about that? Oh no, we've got another box inside this. What do we do? Because now I don't know what's inside that box. Well, fear not. If we take a little harder look at the IP header, we know that the IP header begins right there after the Ethernet frame. So that 45, that byte of information there, the 45, begins the IP header. And if we remember that the IP header has 20 bytes in it, okay, so we could actually count and learn how to decode that 20 bytes of the IP header, okay, because an IP header has a very strict structure associated with it. And guess what? One of the things in the IP header is another field that tells us what's inside this box. So this, in this case, that 06 right there is a hexadecimal value for TCP. So hey, now we get to open up this box and give it a label. We now know that inside this IP packet is a transmission control protocol datagram. Hey, terrific. So now we know what we're actually encapsulating. So if we remember a couple of other facts here, like a TCP header is also 20 bytes, and we start looking for the thing in the TCP header, the field or code or mysterious magic decoder ring that tells us what's inside this, we might be able to tell what kind of data we're actually carrying. Well, the bad news is that we don't know, because TCP doesn't actually have a type or control field, but it does have a source and destination port associated with it. So The second field inside the TCP header is the destination port that this thing is going to. So the entire TCP header is 20 bytes long, and the last portion of it is that 00. So that's actually right after that is where the data heads here. But what is the data? Well, let's do a little network math here. I've got that destination port circled for you there, and that's 0050 in hexadecimal. Well, how does that work out? If we'll ignore the 00s there for a second. We'll take the last byte. And so what we have is 5 times 16 to the first plus 0 times 16 to the 0. Well, again, we can get rid of that 0 times 16 to the 0, and we're left with 5 times 16 to the 1. Do the math on that, and we get a value of 80. That's a base 10 value, and that is a really common port. So that port tells us what kind of data we're actually carrying. Now, I'm not going to tell you. That's up to you guys. But port 80 is very common. It ought to be instantly recognizable to you. That ought to get you on your way to solving or decoding this particular packet. I'm going to close out this episode of the Packet of the Week. I thank you all for watching. I thank you for listening. Hopefully this was very helpful. Remember to stop by brucehartpence.com for additional content, and go to the rest of this YouTube channel and take a look at some of the other videos there. Remember, there's another IP version 6 video coming out soon. Thanks again, everybody, and may your packets always reach their destinations.